Hi everyone, it's Marianne and welcome to my Wasteless Life. In this video, let's talk about pink plants. In the houseplant community, we love our variegated plants, and a lot of people are very partial to the elbow variegation, which is the white marbly type of variegation. But for me personally, while I do love plants with the elbow variegation like the Monstera elbow and the Syngonium elbow, I am very much partial to pink plants when it comes to variegated plants. And I have accumulated quite a number of pink plants in my collection, and I've said this in previous videos, I like my plants to be mostly green, but when it comes to pink plants, the more pink the better. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite pink plants, the ones that I have in my collection and the ones that I have my eye on, and also talk about a couple pink plants that are controversial and honestly way overhyped. I'm pretty sure you know which ones I'm talking about. But yeah, let's get on with this video, my favorite pink plants. But first, let's talk about how do plants get their pink variegation. For most plants with pink variegation, that is a result of a gene mutation. Like with white variegation, the pink variegation is a sign of a lack of the pigment chlorophyll, which gives the plant a green color and also what is needed for photosynthesis, therefore making a pink variegation like the white variegation an abnormality. Another common cause of the variegation is the masking of the green pigments by other pigments, which in this case is the anthocyanin. Anthocyanin is the pigment that causes a lot of fruits and vegetables to have their red, purple, pink, bluish color, and this often extends to the leaves of the plants as well, therefore giving them that pink variegation. The first one in my favorite pink plants is my Ruby Ficus elastica, which you can see right here, and I'm gonna insert some clips so you can see a close-up of it because it's too big to bring to the frame. And the Ruby Ficus elastica is similar to the Taniki Ficus elastica, except that it produces a pink variegation instead of the cream, and it is one of my favorite plants, and it's such a fast grower. Even though it's a variegated plant, as you can see, it still grows even though it is winter time, even when it's supposed to be in dormancy. And it's a very hardy plant when it comes to ficus plants, a lot easier to take care of than, let's say, a Ficus lyrata or any other type of ficus. And my Ruby Ficus elastica did start out as a medium-sized plant, maybe even a small plant, and has now grown into this statement plant. And in my experience, the Ruby Ficus elastica is a lot more available than the Taniki Ficus elastica, but it might be different in your area. For some people, the Ruby Ficus elastica is not that easy to find, but I've also seen it pop up in a lot of online plant shops. So if you're in a hunt for one, do check out some of the more popular online plant shops out there, and even Etsy or Facebook Marketplace. My next favorite pink plant is the Variegated String of Hearts, and this is also a very popular plant that is very high in demand, but it's not very easily found and can still carry a hefty price. Because in comparison to the regular Ceropegia woodii, which is still uncommon, but it is a lot easier to find nowadays, this one can still carry a hefty price because it is a very slow grower. At least for me, this one, I have it for close to a year now, maybe 8 months I think, or 9 months, and it still only has grown this much. And if you compare it to my Ceropegia woodii, it is a much more prolific grower than this one, and they're pretty much the same size of plant. But what I do like about the Variegated String of Hearts, at least this version of this Variegated String of Hearts, it does hold the variegation pretty well. It doesn't revert easily. I've heard the Variegated String of Pearls reverts very easily. I've also heard the Ceropegia woodii Silver Glory, that one also reverts back very easily to a regular Ceropegia woodii. With this one, so far I haven't experienced any reverting, and the growth has been consistently variegated. And the next pink plant in my collection is the pink Aglonima. Honestly, I'm not very much into Aglonimas, but when I found this at the garden center, it was on clearance for $5, and I went ahead and got it. And this one comes in many different colors. You can also find the red Aglonima, and you can also find the Aglonima Lady Valentine, which is a lot more pink than this one. And what I love about the variegated Aglonimas, especially the pink variegated Aglonimas, is they are very affordable. They can be easily found, but they look very similar to the more expensive and more rare philodendrons out there, which I don't know why you'd get those philodendrons when you can get aglonimas that has the same growth pattern and sometimes even a very similar variegation as those expensive and rare philodendrons for a lot cheaper price and a lot easier to find. You can always find an aglonima in your garden center and in your local nurseries. My next favorite pink plant is the Hoya tricolor, and it comes in 2 different versions or maybe 3 depending on how you look at it. This one is the Hoya Crimson Queen, which is probably my favorite because this one can produce leaves that are just fully pink or fully white. As you can see, it has some pink leaves in the middle, and if you can see at the back over here, the pink leaves are a lot more prominent. And you can find the same tricolor pattern with the Hoya Crimson Princess and also the variegated version of the Hoya Carnosa Compacta. The Hoya Carnosa Compacta Variegata, I don't have it yet. It is in my plants that I'm allowed to buy this year, and I know that has popped up in garden centers last year. But if not, I'm very happy with my Hoya Crimson Queen and also my Hoya Crimson Princess up there. So the next pink plant in my collection, I already did a full video on this one, so I'm not going to talk much about it. You can just check it out. I'll put the link somewhere up here and also down in the description, and it's my Tradescandia Nanux. This is how it looks like after I did the propagation of it, and it's been looking pretty good. And there's also another Tradescandia that I saw on Instagram, which is also a pink variegated Tradescandia, but it has a lot more funkier variegation when it comes to its green and pink pattern. It is the Tradescandia Blushing Bright. As you can see from the photo up here, its variegation pattern is very different from other Tradescandias, and if I can find one, I would love to add that into my collection. And my next favorite pink plant is the Syngonium Pink Splash, which I have right here. I got this one in Chicago last summer, and as you can see, it has fully pink leaves, but it has that more mature leaf shape of a Syngonium, which is a tri-leaf, and in this case it could be even like 4 or 5 leaves, which is really fun. I really like this plant, but when I see pictures of a Syngonium Pink Splash, it's actually a even divide between the green variegation and the pink variegation, or it's like splashes of pink on a green leaf of a Syngonium, but this one hasn't produced that at all. It's always have been this fully pink leaf, and I'm not really sure why. When this was sold to me, it was sold as Syngonium Pink Splash, and I know the Syngonium Pink Splash carry quite a bit of a price online, but this one I got for $10, so I'm not complaining if it's not an actual Syngonium Pink Splash or it's just like a different variety of a Syngonium Pink Splash. But either way, I'm really happy with its very pink leaves. And the last pink plant I have in my collection before I talk about other pink plants is the Stremanthis threostar. I got this one off a trade last year, and this is one of my wish list plants from a couple years ago, and I'm really happy to have it in my collection. At first though, when I first brought it home, I wasn't too sure about it because I tried to stay away from prayer plants, and Stremanthis is considered a type or variety of prayer plant, but in comparison to the Calathea or the Maranthus, the Stremanthis are supposed to be the more easier care ones, and so far it's been proving that, and this one has grown beautifully. First I had it in my IKEA indoor greenhouse, but it grown too big real quickly for it, so I have to put it outside. And this one hasn't given me any problems so far, unlike my Calathea White Fusion, which is now suffering from spider mites again, and it's in isolation again. So I don't think I'll be getting any Calatheas anytime soon, but the Stremanthis threostar with its pink variegation and even more pink underside, I'm very happy to have this in my plant collection and among my pink plants. So a couple other pink plants that I don't have in my collection is the pink photonia. I have the regular photonia with just the white variegation, but there's also a red photonia or pink photonia. I personally don't like the look of that, that's why I never got those. I prefer the regular photonia, but that's also an option if you're looking to add more pink plants in your collection. And there's also another common pink plant, which is the pink polka dot plant. Every time I see it, I think of getting one, but I hesitate. I don't know why. But the pink polka dot plant is a very beautiful pink plant. It is very affordable and it's also easily found in any garden centers or nurseries. And of course, I can't do a video on pink plants without mentioning the pink princess philodendron. And I don't have this plant. I don't think I'll ever get this plant just because, as you might have noticed, I don't have a lot of philodendrons in my collection. The only philodendrons I have are the vining philodendrons, and even then they're kind of on thin ice. I only have like a couple of them that I do like, which is the Micans and the philodendron lime. The philodendron Brazil, I downsized my really large plant into a really small one, and I do have the philodendron brandtianum, but that one is also not working out too well for me. So in general, I'm not into philodendrons, especially the bush type of philodendrons. So it's kind of the same way I feel about the pink princess philodendron. It is a pretty pink plant, but there are other pink plants out there that I prefer and do like. And I'm not going to go into every detail of the pink princess philodendron controversy, but if you want to know more about it, I would link the article written by Wired last year that covers everything about that pink princess philodendron controversy. But basically, the pink princess philodendron started out as not a rare plant. It's actually a pretty common plant, and a lot of people were able to buy it for even less than $10 back then. But for some reason, it became very popular, became harder to get. And because it is a variegated plant, it is a lot more finicky to grow at a faster rate. I'm just gonna say PPP because it's a lot easier to say. The PPP is a variegated plant, so it is a lot harder, more finickier, and a lot slower to grow. And even at wholesale, at least according to the article, it can start at around $250 already. So that's how crazy the pink princess philodendron or the PPP prices can go. But the controversy centered around the pink Congo, which is a plant where its leaves were artificially pickened by using a certain gas, and the pink variegation doesn't last very long. I believe it either reverts or the new growth just comes out green. So people thought they were getting the pink princess philodendron, but they were actually not. So those are my favorite pink plants, the ones in my collection and the ones I have my eye on, except for the last one. And if you have any pink plants in your collection, or if you want to get a pink plant collection, let me know down in the comments which one you'd like to get, and tell me what do you think of the pink princess philodendron. Is it in your wish list plants? Do you like it? Do you want it? Do you think it's worth the price people are selling it for, or do you think it's overhyped? Me personally, like I said, I am not looking to add it to my collection because I don't like philodendrons in general. But if you want to add a pink princess philodendron in your collection, just make sure you are getting the real one and you are not overpaying for a pink princess philodendron. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, I hope you subscribe. I come up with houseplants and sustainable lifestyle videos every week. And if you haven't yet, check out these videos up here until my next one. But until then, I see you. I appreciate you. Take care of yourself and each other, and have a plentiful day. Bye.